So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. So, for the longest, a lot of people, the whole astronaut crave had done died down for the longest, right? Y'all remember when you were younger, everybody was, oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, I want to be an astronaut. Oh, I want to be a police officer, fireman, teacher. Those were like, you know what I mean? Some of the most prestigious professions that people wanted to go after, people wanted to pursue. But then after a while, it kind of died down. Everybody wanted to be a rapper. Now everybody wants to be in content, which is all dope, you know what I mean? But it seemed like lawyer and different other doctors, all that stuff kind of died down. Until now, I feel like Elon and Bezos, they're kind of like trying to restore the feeling and give people like the opportunity to feel like, oh, it's attainable. Because it seems like you start out wishing as a child, but then as you get older, you're like, whew, it's a lot of schooling, whew, it's a lot of things you got to go through. So it kind of creates a gap or a small group of people who are willing to withstand what it goes through to, you know what I'm saying, to become that. And here I am to scare you back out of it. I know I just gave you that whole entire speech, but here I am to scare you out of it with the top 10 scary astronaut stories. Huh? I know y'all like, right? I know, that's what I'm here for. That's what I do. This is what I do. This is what I does. So, man, if you're new to the channel, bro, hit the subscribe button. Join the fam. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'm here to scare you back out of it. That's my role. Let's get to it. Top 10 scary astronaut stories.
Into space for today's video.
What?
Welcome back, everyone. We're heading off into space for today's video. If space is your kind of thing, then do check out our top 10 scary NASA urban legends. It should be right up there, I think. Today, though, we're sharing real accounts of people who have been to space and the scary things they've experienced, the unexplained sightings, and the memories that haunted them for years after. It's a good one. My name is Danny Burke, and this is the top 10 scary astronaut stories. Starting off number 10 now, we have The Knocking. In 2003, Yang Liwei became the first Chinese person in space. It was a historic occasion, but it also became famous for a creepy occurrence. In 2016, Yang told an interviewer that he heard someone knocking on the outside of the spaceship on that trip.
Could you imagine that? Can you imagine that, right? You're the only person, I would like to think, I would like to hope, I'm the only person up here besides if I got another crew member and all of a sudden you hear. So I'm gonna act like I don't hear it. That's just me. Somebody else gonna have to say, you hear that? I'm gonna be like, what? I'm gonna still act like I don't hear it. Nobody's supposed to be here.
That he heard someone knocking on the outside of the spaceship on that trip. He was terrified and tried to peek out of the porthole but couldn't see anything outside. When he got back to Earth, Yang described the sound to experts. He even tried to recreate it for them, but nobody could identify it. In the years since, many people have tried to explain this strange phenomenon. Some say it could have been some space debris, but others say that this is unlikely, as space debris is few and far between. Others claim it could be the expanding and contracting of the ship due to the changing temperature of the spaceship as it orbited the Earth. Even though that's the leading theory, many people have their own theories about aliens or time travelers being responsible for the mysterious knocking sound. Moving on to number 9 now, we have alien music. In 1969, American astronauts Tom Stafford, Gene Cernan, and John Young went to the far side of the moon for the Apollo 10 mission. It was going to be the final test before Apollo 11 took 3 humans to walk on the surface of the moon for the first time. When the Apollo 10 astronauts were orbiting around the far side of the moon, they took photographs of its surface. As they were working away, they began to hear music. Specifically, they heard a strange whistling sound that lasted nearly an hour. When it faded away, Commander Cernan said, "Boy, that sure is weird music. We're going to have to find out about that." Pilot Young replied, "Nobody would believe us." And for the most part, they were right.
Yeah, first I got somebody knocking. Now you're hearing music. So in my mind, I'm thinking when you get up in space, your mind starts automatically playing tricks on you, or I don't know, maybe it's the atmosphere, something about space that does something tricky with your mind. Because okay, if let's just entertain it, then what did you hear? Is it you heard some Snoop, you heard some Dre, you heard some Jay-Z, Lil Wayne? What y'all hear? The Baby, Lil Baby? What you up there hearing? You know what I'm saying? Like I need to know. Is it old school? The Isley Brothers? Huh? Like what's going on?
That, Pilot Young replied, "Nobody would believe us." And for the most part, they were right. Many people couldn't explain the sound that they claimed to have heard, and so they just didn't believe it. The leading theory is that the sound came from radio interference between spacecrafts. Some people have dismissed that, though, and have insisted that the astronauts would have known the difference between radio interference and their spacey music. Coming up.
That's crazy. I just thought of something, though. What's on your space playlist? Like if you go into space, and you gotta you gonna create a playlist. What's on your space playlist? Huh? What you listening to while you in space? What's gonna get you, I guess, hyped? What's gonna get you amped? Huh? You gonna play some Lil Jon up there? What you playing in space? Let me know.
At number 8 now, we have Snakes in Space. In 1994, Dr. Story Musgrave did an interview where he described.
I tried to hold it. But only thing I'm hearing now is snakes on a plane and Samuel L. Jackson. And I'm tired of these snakes on this mic. Oh, my bad, y'all. My bad. Snakes in space, though? My bad, y'all. I'm sorry.
Interference and their spacey music. Coming at number 8 now, we have Snakes in Space. In 1994, Dr. Story Musgrave did an interview where he described his career as an astronaut and one particular time which shook him to that day. He said, "On 2 of my missions, I still don't have an answer. I have seen a snake out there, 6, 7, 8 feet long. It is rubbery because it has internal waves in it, and it follows you for a rather long period of time. The more you fly in space, the more you see an incredible amount of things out there, and that sort of thing brings to you really a certainty that other living creatures are out there." Now, usually an account like this might be dismissed, but Musgrave is a doctor. He has 6 academic degrees, is a trained mathematician. He was in the Marine Corps and was a NASA astronaut. He seems like a credible witness. He believes that there are advanced creatures existing in space itself, and that he has even tried to communicate with them in the hopes that they come down and get him. Whatever that means.
Again, I'm starting to think when you arrive or when you get to space, your mind starts playing tricks on you, bro. Now, can he be right? Possibly, yes. But knocking, music, now snakes.
Next up at number 7 now, we have docking. In 1995, famous Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield had his first space flight. His job was to relay the speed and range information to the pilot as they were docking into the Russian Mir space station. Any mistakes could have resulted in a total disaster. Too soft and they would have just bounced off. Too hard and they would have broken the space station in half, killing the 3 people on board. Everything was going smoothly, but then one of the sensors started telling them they were 32 feet away, the other said 20 feet away, which was correct. If they didn't solve the problem in 30 seconds, it was over for them. Hadfield had to calculate how far they were away in his head, timing it with his stopwatch to decide when they should fire their thrusters. Luckily, they ended up being spot on and they docked almost perfectly. It took a few minutes before the astronauts began to realize they had done it. They were alive, they had avoided a space disaster, and they had lived to tell the tale. Moving on now to number 6, we have Impossible. On May 5th, 1980.
Sheesh. Oh. Y'all ain't telling me the screen was not. It's probably from me laughing and putting my head down that it did that. But that's why I said, bro, seriousness about space, fam. Seriousness. 30 seconds to figure out whether you was going to live or die. That 30-second decision, you know what I mean, determines your fate. Like, don't take it for granted, bro. You just see people going up to space and coming back right now, having fun, laughing, and everything like that. But Oh, it's a serious. It's serious.
And they are lived to tell the tale. Moving on now to number 6, we have Impossible. On May 5th, 1981, Russian cosmonaut Vladimir Kovalyonok looked out of his portal of the Salyut orbital space station. He then saw something which seemed inexplicable to him. When he returned to Earth, he told the world at a conference what he had seen. He said, "Many cosmonauts have seen phenomena which are far beyond the experiences of Earthmen. For 10 years, I have never spoke on such things. The encounter you asked me about happened on May 5th, 1981 at about 6 p.m. during the Salyut mission. At that time, we were over the area of South Africa, moving towards the area of the Indian Ocean. I just made some gymnastic exercises when I saw in front of me, through a porthole, an object which I could not explain. I saw this object, and then something happened that I could not explain, something impossible according to the laws of physics. The object had this shape, elliptical, and it flew with us. From a frontal view, it looked like it would rotate in flight direction. It only flew straight, but then a kind of explosion happened. Very beautiful to watch, of golden light. That was the first part. Then, 1 or 2 seconds later, a second explosion followed somewhere else, and 2 spheres appeared, golden and very beautiful. After this explosion, I just saw white smoke, then a cloud-like sphere. Before we entered the darkness, we flew through the Terminator, the twilight zone between day and night. We flew eastwards, and when we entered the darkness of the Earth's shadow, I could see them no longer. The 2 spheres never returned." That was the end of the quote. There have rarely been descriptions so vivid and detailed, and many people who hear Kovalyonok's story hold it up as proof of extraterrestrial life. Moving on now to number 5, we have Toxic. In the mid-90s, Bob Kerbean took part on his first spacewalk as an astronaut. Unfortunately, disaster struck when a connector to a hose began to leak on the outside, spraying toxic ammonia all over him. He couldn't get back inside the space station covered in that stuff. He managed to stay calm and he fixed the leak, but he was still contaminated. He came up with a plan. Ammonia has a low boiling point, and so Bob decided to literally bake himself in the sunlight of space for an extra 30 minutes in order to vaporize the ammonia off him. He had to just sit out there in space, hoping that he got all the ammonia off and that he didn't poison the crew and himself when he got back into the station. It was a success. His plan worked.
Talk about coming up with something on the fly. That's why I said, man, it's important. Don't play around with this. Don't play around with this, man. Like, Buddy's smart, intelligent. I'm pretty sure they probably discussed something like this possibly happening or something. But some way he tapped into something in his brain to say, this is what I gotta try. I mean, at this point, it's life or death. Anything we've heard so far, well, not anything, but most stuff we've heard so far has been life or death. Like, I ain't playing around with it. I ain't, no.
But it was one of the most surreal and scary moments an astronaut could ever experience. Next up on number 4 now, we have...
Because if he didn't, he poisoned the crew. So now you gotta say, in your mind, if this doesn't work, and I'm chancing this, I'll be responsible for the deaths of me and my crew. That's a heavy decision to make.
The lights. In 2005, astronaut Leroy Chiao was commander on the International Space Station for over 6 months. He was once doing a spacewalk to repair some antennas when something caught his eye. He saw some lights that seemed to be in a line, almost like an upside-down check mark. They flew right past him, but his fellow astronaut didn't see because they were facing the other way. When he described the sighting to those back on the ground, they dismissed it as a fishing boat hundreds of miles below him. Chiao himself had stated that he doesn't believe there's ever been any tangible evidence that someone else is visiting Earth or has done so in the past. He has simply told his story as it is and is leaving all of the explaining up to everyone else. Coming in at number 3 now, we have the Drifter. Now, for some people, the biggest fear they have about space is that feeling of drifting away from the space station, unable to claw themselves back.
Right. This here is my number 1 fear, bro. Like that dude outside, but he had to get the ammonia or whatever off of him. I thought they was gonna say he got stuck out there and then ended up drifting off. And it ain't like you can perform a swim move to get yourself probably back. I don't know, maybe you can, but I wouldn't think so. But how are you gonna, you can't dog paddle, can't swim, you just floating. To where?
Back. Well, Scott Parazinski may have had the closest experience to that. He was performing a spacewalk when a jammed solar panel threatened the safety of the entire space station and the crew inside. After 72 hours, NASA came up with a plan. Scott was told to travel further away from the safety of an airlock than had ever been attempted. He later said in an interview, there was a real danger that we could do even worse damage to the space station. Then there was the potential of risk to myself because if there was any metal-to-metal connection with the solar panel or arcing, I could actually electrocute myself or cause ignition of the 100% oxygen in my spacesuit. The stakes were high, but Scott succeeded. Disaster was averted, but sadly, many of Scott's heroics are still not known by the masses. Moving on to number 2 now, we have the secret transmission. In 1974.
That's crazy. Basically, what he just told us is we only hearing a piece of what has went on up there, that they have chosen. They tell us what they want to. It's more.
Retired Chief of NASA Communications Systems, Maurice Chatelain, published his book, Our Cosmic Ancestors. In it, he made an extraordinary claim about the first manned mission to the moon. He said, only moments before Armstrong stepped down the ladder to set foot on the moon, 2 UFOs hovered overhead. Edwin Aldrin took several pictures of them. Some of these photographs have been published in the June 1975 issue of Modern People magazine. Now, this claim was linked to the story that there were 2 minutes of radio silence after Armstrong set foot on the moon. People claim that the lost audio was of him saying, "These babies were huge, sir. Enormous. Oh God, you wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, there are other spacecraft out here lined up on the far side of the crater's edge. They're on the moon watching us." Now, of course, all of this is speculation. An actual recording of that audio or of those pictures has never surfaced. That either means it didn't happen at all or it's been covered up very, very well. Either way, it's a creepy story. And
what if Armstrong just had a sense of humor and he knew this was his moment? You know what I mean? I'm the type of person, I'm going to seize that moment. So I probably would have said something like that too. Not saying that he wasn't being truthful. I'm just another perspective.
Finally, number 1 now, we have the Green Bolt. Gordon Cooper was a well-known astronaut who flew on the Mercury 9 and Gemini 5 missions. He was the last American to fly alone in space. In 1963, he flew aboard the Mercury capsule for a circumnavigational trip around the world. Everything seemed to be going okay, and then, on his final orbit, as he passed over Perth, Australia, he saw a green object swing towards him at an incredible speed. At first, he thought it was just a figment of his imagination. There have been times where pilots and astronauts have seen objects like this, but their equipment detected nothing. This time was different though. The Moochia tracking station in Western Australia actually picked the object up on their radar. That was huge. Now he had something solid to back up his own experience. He reported the incident to the National Broadcasting Company. When he returned to Earth, he was eager to tell his side of the story, but Gordon claims he was approached by NBC reporters who told him they had been instructed to not question him about the sighting. All of this has only fanned the flames of a UFO conspiracy. So there we have it, guys. Some stories from space.
But yet we got all these stories, right? And they want to suppress them or call us crazy or say, you know what I mean? There's no such thing. You want to view us as, nah, man. These people ain't just risking their credibility to tell these type of stories. You know, some may. Not everybody, though. You know what I mean? Not everybody. Somebody's got to be telling the truth out of all these people, bro. That's why it's called unidentified. But I digress. You know what I'm saying? I digress. So, listen, man, y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought of this. The top 10 scary astronaut stories. I think mission was accomplished, fam. You'll think twice before you just pay your money to go and head up to space. You'll probably want one of those courses. Pretty sure they'll offer those soon, too. You know what I mean? You know, like before you go do something, you skydive, you jump out of a plane, you have to take this class or anything like that. I bet those will be taken before y'all just jump out there. YOLO. Nah, no go. All right. All right. So y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what you think and stick around and stay tuned to the next reaction. I'm gone. Peace.